Hi, welcome to my channel where I'll be discussing books, movies, shows, or just anything that interests me. And for this video, I'll be talking about a popular Chinese TV drama called Untamed. And I'll be providing an in-depth analysis. It'll be mostly spoiler-free. Also provide some cons along with the pros, but do keep in mind that I highly favor Untamed. So there will definitely be way more pros than there are cons. However, before I start, I just want to make some disclaimer first. I'm not Chinese and I don't speak, I can't speak Chinese. So there's likely the chance, very high chance that the Chinese names and words mentioned in this video will be mispronounced. But I'm gonna try my best to pronounce them as closely as possible to how it is in Chinese. Now on to The Untamed. So The Untamed is a 50 episode long Chinese TV drama series that came out in 2019. It stars Xiao Zhang and Wong Yibo. The show is based on a Dianmei, which is a Chinese gay novel written by an author whose pen name is Mo Xiang Tongqiu, also known as MXTX. The Chinese title of this show is not Untamed. It is Cheng Qing Liang, and the book that this show is based on is Mo Tao Zu Shu. While it's the English title of that novel is Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, which I have it right here. And this show is available on many online streaming services. If you're located in the US, it is available on Netflix. And the book is published by Seven Seas. This book right here is published by Seven Seas and it is available online like Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So there's like several reasons why I highly recommend The Untamed, and it starts with the promise and the delivery of that promise. If you don't know already, a show's like a story's opening is a promise to the viewers. Like it tells the viewers what to expect, what kind of story it is, and it sets the stage for the rest of the story. And The Untamed, it opens with a dramatic scene at a battle, right, at this location that looks like a volcano. And the main character, Wei Wuxia, he's standing at the top of the cliff and he's looking down at a battle scene. And he's deeply hurt and upset. You can see blood dripping down his mouth and tears streaming down his face. And he's like about to give up. And he just like, as an attempt to commit suicide, he just about to fall backwards off the cliff. And this point, another character shows up, Lan Wenji. Like he saw Wei Wuxia do that. He calls out Wei Wuxia's name. He jumps in just to save Wei Wuxia just in time, holding on to Wei Wuxia, prevent Wei Wuxia from falling. And they're like both hurt, and you see blood dripping down on their hands. And then suddenly a third character shows up. Jiang Cheng, he shows up. He does not like Wei Wuxia. He's about to attack Wei Wuxia, and then Wei Wuxia pulls himself free from Lan Wenji's hand, and then he falls down to his death. So within a couple minutes, we see that the main character, Wei Wuxia, dies in pain, grief, and regret. And for me, upon watching this scene, I took it to mean that this show is making a promise to the audience that this will be an emotionally intense show. There will be drama, there will be painful relationships that are filled with hate, love, and betrayal. And this is like for someone who is really into, who thrives on density. Like this would have been the kind of show that I'm interested in. But then a lot of times, like in the past, I've been disappointed. Like especially in Asian TV drama. Asian TV dramas, their shows tend to be angsty, sad, romantic. It's just a lot of really supposed to be sad. But then for me, like a lot of the times I'm disappointed in these shows. I feel like it does not deliver on that. Like it'll kind of trying to sell a story that it's sad and deeply sad, romantic, all those stuff, and very super angsty. But then for me, it's not. I feel like it's not intense enough. It's not that romantic enough. It's not sad enough. It's just not enough for me. And yeah, so when I saw the Untamed opening, I wasn't convinced. Like I didn't believe that there's like no way it would be able to do that. I expected to be disappointed, but then I decided to give it a chance, and I'm so glad that it did, because the Untamed, like for the first time ever, like this show delivers on that promise. Like it lives up to the hype, and not only does it surpass my expectation, it impressed me so much that it forever changed how I view creative storytelling and characterization. And every stories and every show that I watch is just not the same anymore. Like it's just not, like I'm always comparing to the thing now. So for me, like one of the like interesting thing about the Untamed is how the story is told and the ideas that are expressed on screen to give it the most emotional impact. And the show does this by juxtaposing two extremities to show intensity. For example, the theme is not told in chronological order. Instead, it switches between the past and the present, and from the time before Wei Wuxia's death to the present time when Wei Wuxia's soul was mysteriously brought back into a different body, and his identity is slowly being revealed to old friends, families, and enemies. And this kind of storytelling, like sometimes it can feel like confusing, frustrating, or disruptive at times. It allows the viewers to easily compare the past to the present and see how huge, like how different they are, because that's one of the main points of the story. Like, for example, like Wei Wuxia and his relationship, a lot of the characters at the beginning of the task is like the opposite of him and his relationship with those characters towards the end of the present timeline. And because these two timeline like are so different that like as viewers, like I can't help but wonder what happened. How did it happen? Like how did these people who were like strangers back then are be so close now, or who are like enemies now, we used to be so close back then. And for me, like I no longer care about the results of the story, because I already know that, because the show uh, presents us with the present time first. But now I'm interested in the character's journey. Like I, want to bridge the two timeline. I want to see how they're connected. I want to understand them better. I want to understand this huge transformation, this change. And I find that because of the two timelines, so you experience one extreme to the next, like it gives a really good rewatch value, because you're not really concerned about the plot anymore, but you're really interested in that journey. Almost kind of like when you're riding roller coaster, where that how the where that a bump is coming up, but then you're still excited because you're looking for that thrill, and you remember that thrill. And that's what Entain kind of how it you know achieved with the way it's telling the story. The Untamed, it doesn't just use that method where it just supposed two different things together to show intensity. Doesn't use it for timeline only. Like it uses it for like contrasting ideas, themes, and emotions. For example, Wei Wuxia, the time Wei Wuxia spent at the burial grounds mounds were really sad and depressing, and but then like you don't realize how sad it is until like after we saw Wei Wuxia visiting um, Yang Li and Jiang Che. Like after he visits them, then we understand how much worse it is. It intensifies it. Like just like how shadows will appear darker when the sun is shining more brightly, Wei Wuxia's loneliness and sadness feels greater after he have known joy in visiting those two other characters. Like by because like the by the team like them placing two contrasting emotions or scenes together, this show is able to draw out intense emotions from the viewer without having to overdo on the unpleasantness, like without having to like pile up on things like depression, abuse, torture, gore, or injustice. Just like how a lot of typical sad stories are, and it just should show us just a little, and we can still yet feel the emotion even more intensely because we understand how we can understand how painful loneliness is just simply by knowing and being reminded of how special love and joy are. Another thing that I find really interesting about Untamed, with its creative storytelling technique, is how it strategically holds information and then reveals them at a time that is most impactful and is really strategic on which character's point of view that it want us to focus on. For example, what makes one of the biggest plot twists so shockingly good is when the show decides to reveal it. Like, for example, for most of this series, we're following Wei Wuxia's point of view, and we got to see things from his perspective. We feel what he feels, we know what he knows, and then suddenly there's this crucial event that the show decided to leave us in the dark, like we don't know what happened. And only Wei Wuxia or like a few individuals know what happened. And this information is not revealed until later when the other characters find out the truth. And by withholding this information from us, like despite us having followed Wei Wuxia the whole time, we got to experience this emotion from those other characters who got to experience it when the truth was revealed to them. Like we got to experience their shock, their pain, and the love they have for Wei Wuxia. Like if the Untamed had chosen to show us Wei Wuxia's perspective the whole time, and we learned this at the same time that Wei Wuxia experienced it, I feel that it would be like a different story and it would left different kind of impact on the viewers. Um, for example, for me, like it would probably come off like a lot of self pity, martyrdom, or annoying nobleness to a fault. But but because the Untamed left us in the dark, and it when you revealed it, it becomes like sort of like an interesting character reveal for Wei Wuxia. Like it highlights his good character traits. It shows what kind of person he is. Like he did a kind act, but he did not let anyone know about it. Like he never mentioned it. He never used it to demand or expect anything back. He never allowed it to like become something for him to feel superior or to feel resentful towards the receiver of his kind act. And we never got to experience those negative feelings that we would feel like, for example, like Jon Snow from Game of Thrones, how he's just so noble to a fault that it got frustrating following him. So we never got to experience that from watching Wei Wuxia because we didn't know that happened. And it really does feel like Wei Wuxia was someone who he meant what he did, and he really didn't expect anything back. Another for me, like one of the main reasons like that the Untamed so popular, like why I recommend it and why so many people talk and praise about it is its amazing characterization, especially the character development of Wei Wuxia. The Untamed is a character driven story. I say that because the main character actively makes decisions that are reflective of his values, beliefs, and personalities. The decisions he made are have serious consequences, and they impact him greatly, and he learns from them. Not only that, the problems that he faces are complex and they're not easy to solve. Like I think that's some one of my main complaints about a lot of stories is that too many times when the character is not well written, the problems they face are not well written either. It's and lot of the time the problems they face are not that complicated, and I feel like only if only the characters stop being dumb, or they just stop they just communicate what they really want, or they just you know or they just like stop being it just I it would like they could easily solve these problems. But then that's not the issue with Untamed, right? The problems of way we ship face is so complicated and it gets more complicated. And part of the reason for that is because all the characters are complex. They all have their own values, their own beliefs and personalities, and these things often clash with each other. It doesn't matter if the character is like just a side character or like a beloved family member and friend, Wei Wuxia. And the other things that I feel like Wei Wuxia's a lot of the actions that he took, it's not performative. It's not like he's just simply doing his job, or he's doing what's expected of him, or he's doing what he's been told, or according to the teachings of his community, like he's just performing a role. He's I feel like he did these things because they're important to him, because he just cannot do them. It's a part of him. And the reason I said that is because like a lot of times, so many of the characters were against him. He's making these decisions, yet he still did them, and he did it even though he know he's gonna struggle for it, and that he's not gonna have any support, and that really shows that he does them because these are things that is very important to him, and he just can't not do them. And another amazing thing about Wei Wuxia is that like he makes mistakes and he suffers serious consequences from it. Like he's responsible for his own actions. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not just Wei Wuxia, but all the other characters are complex with their own values, beliefs, and personalities. They all behave reasonably in a self-interested way. They're all not just there to be a prop for the main character. They're not just there to worship and sing praises to the main character, or to look dumb and incompetent or evil next to him. Like, because all the characters behave in a realistic, self-interested way, they all sort of become the hero of their own story and have their own flaws and good traits to them. And like when Wei-Wuxia gets in the way of their goals, or their Wei-Wuxia's views and values clashes with their, like, Wei-Wuxia easily, reasonably becomes a villain in the story. And that makes it, like, for me, hard to, like, hate any of the characters in the thing. Because these characters make sense to me. Like, I don't hate them. Like, just because they aren't an admiring fan of Wei Wuxia like us viewers are, who are like supporting Wei Wuxia. Like, Wei Wuxia might be the main character of Untamed, of this story, but that doesn't mean that he's the main character of every other character story in the show. And another amazing thing about the characterization of Untamed is that the actor who played Wei Wuxia is so well cast. I find that the character Wei Wuxia is a tricky character to play. Like, he has so much personality that if the wrong actor was casted for him, then he would easily come off very clownish, kind of like the Joker, who is a really tricky character to play, and he requires a really talented actor to pull that off. That's the same thing for Wei Wuxia. So the actor Xiao Zhang, I find that like he was perfect with Wuxia. Like, he has the charisma to pull off, and not make it come off very clownish. He has the skills and the talent to pull off the range, like all the range to pull off all the extreme emotions that Wei Wuxia had. Like, he was able to portray like all the emotions where she has, such as like being playful and silly and flirty, and also being like a very confident, terrifying patriarch of the demonic cultivation. Finally, I one another thing amazing about Tame is like how a lot of the lessons that viewers can draw from this show, and these lessons are painful and realistic to life. Because of how well done the show is. Like, for example, some of the lessons that I got from this show is, no matter how noble, righteous, or kind your actions are, there are always consequences. And this lesson hurts because in typical fantasy stories, when the hero challenges the status quo or he stands up for what's right, he's hailed as a hero and he's celebrated. But that's not the case for the Untamed because, like in real life, that's not always the case. It's a reminder that sometimes doing something heroic, there's risk to it, and you can be targeted. You can be, your life could be threatened, and you could be ostracized. And it's like it really helps me to put things into perspective. That you know that like I can't judge other people who are choosing to conform, who are choosing not to like stand up to the status quo and challenge things because they, not expect like I can't expect them to sacrifice their life because that's something personal that they have to make, and this is there to make as and at the same time, I really do admire those people who are courageous to not do something like what Wei Wuxie did. Another lesson I got from Untamed is that despite your willingness and desire to help and care for others, despite your beliefs in your ability to take on the pain and suffering of others, realistically, there is only so much you can do and handle. And you are not invincible. You are not impenetrable. You are not made to take on the burden of everyone. And I'm saying this because this is like the main important lesson for that way we should learn. Like he is too empathetic, and he like it seemed like it was more painful for him to watch others suffer than for himself to suffer because he believed that he can handle a lot of pain and a lot of trauma. He can handle suffering and all that stuff, and it's part of the reason why he sacrificed himself a lot for others. But he doesn't realize that there is a limit to what he can do, and there is a limit to how much pain he can take. And when he doesn't like do that, then like he ends up taking too much pain and ends up being too deep and too gray that it takes a lot for him to heal, for him for all those to be undone. And this, yeah, it's like a lesson that it doesn't matter how much well you can take, you really still have to like stop and take care of yourself too, because it will be too much. It will cause a lot of harm to your being. Um, just one last lesson. Like there's so many lessons I want to talk about, but I don't want to drag the video for too long. So another lesson that I got from this is like, is that it doesn't matter how much love there is. Sometimes people are meant to walk different paths, and I'm saying this because like Wei Wuxia and Zhao Yangli, like they love each other, but there's a point where like Zhang Yangli has to let Wei Wuxia go, like walk, she can't keep she can't keep him from walking the path that he's determined to make, and that she can still love him from afar. And just because they're not together, they're not walking the same path, it doesn't mean they don't love each other. And that's one of very like sad, I guess, lesson for me about life is that no matter how much you love someone, you you have to accept that sometimes people gotta walk their own path and discover who they are and what they meant to do or stuff like that, and you can still love them without having them right there beside you all the time. So onto the things about the Untamed that the cons of Untamed. Like, despite all the amazing things about it, there are some flaws to this show that I do need to acknowledge. First of it is that it is very long. It is like 50 episodes and it's over about 45 minutes each episode. There are some parts in the show that tend to drag, and there's like it does take a while for the show to get interesting. Like about half of the show was just spent on setting up the characters, their relationship with each other, and the world, and Just have to have a lot of patience for that. And then not just that, like the plot lines can get like unnecessarily overcomplicated just for the sake of being complicated. There's too many twists and turns and little small subplots, and it can get like goes too in depth into some of the stories and some characters' backstories. Like it's can get really draining because like sometimes I cannot handle that much information dump or that much backstory, and yeah, but there's and then also there's the constant uh flashbacks, like the long flashbacks, and the fact that it kind of goes into other characters' perspective or their memories. It can feel disruptive to the story. It's like so it's like when I'm already like used to this timeline, all the characters and settings, and then suddenly when it switches to a different timeline or different point of view, and I had to like force myself to readjust each time. So it does get really frustrating, you know. But then, like like I said, this is like a show that you have to have a lot of patience for. And another thing, if I forget, like another thing that people complain a lot about this show is that it has really it's low budget. It has terrible special effects and terrible props and stuff like that. Like it's so bad that it's laughable. For example, a dead cat is simply just a stuffed animal, and you just it can take you out from the the story sometimes. But then, as I said, this show is, really highly rewarding. Like if you can stomach the poor visual quality, like if you can sit in for 50 episodes and, like push through like some of the complicated plots and some part that drag is this show is one of the most rewarding and it's most emotionally intense show I've ever watched. Like it's so well done that I cannot read any other stories that I watch. I compare it to the Untamed now, especially characterization. Like I cannot just every other character just not as colorful, as lively, as well developed and well written as uh the Untamed. So yeah, go definitely give it a chance and sit through and really push through for at least the first 15 episodes, and then by episode 25 you're when it started getting more exciting. If you're still not interested, then you can like go ahead and drop it. But I find that for me, um, I find that a lot of times really good, well written shows and books and stuff like that tends to be those that are dragged in the beginning. So I tend to have more patience for them. But anyways, thank you so much for watching my video, and I'll see you next time.